So good morning, ma'am. This is
Good morning.
Varsha, and that's my friend Meghana, and we are from Christ University. Uh,
Mhm.
we were assigned with a project that we need to contact an entrepreneur and know about their life history of how they became an entrepreneur.
So actually, we looked up for many entrepreneurs online, but to be very honest, your profile actually inspired us a lot because you make the products, your products and your innovations are so innovative that many entrepreneurs just work for the profit, but you do it for the environment, and you this kind of initiative is actually required in manufacturing. So would you like to brief about your product, the paper pen, the seed pen that you've made?
Yeah, so my background is that I'm a home science graduate. Then I qualified my course in fashion, interior, and jewelry designing, and was working as a designer in an art gallery in San Francisco, and also as a jewelry designer. Um, and during my visits to Kerala, like to India, there were many things that were like disturbing your mind a lot. Mainly, it was a garbage strewn all over the place, right? So, in order to address that, I came up with the pepper pen idea. And one thing I was very particular was that when I do something, it has to have multiple impacts. That particular product should be like an iPhone. iPhone is like you could replace camera, torch, timepiece, a voice recording machine, and so many other things, right? And it's also a phone.
Yes, ma'am.
So I wanted all of my products to be like, to have that kind of an impact on the society and for the people and community as a whole. So when I developed that paper pen, it could have been just an item that could replace the plastic pen, but I wanted to add more and more value to it. Yeah, so when I made the paper pen, I was very particular about the paper that I chose for making the pen. So this is that paper pen. Um, I've been trying my best to use discarded paper from printing press so that we are extending the life of the paper that's already made by cutting down the trees. So there is one social aspect right there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Then it was I was employing only women. That too in my neighborhood. I stay in slightly in a village kind of a setup. So I wanted to empower the women over here. Empower in the sense give some financial freedom to them.
Yes.
So they could, and they were not at all skilled in anything of this sort. Uh, so this was one way I could actually skill them and employ them for a living. Then what I did was what did I do? Then what we did was the surface of the pen was like it's like a plain white pen. So we wanted to add more value to the surface of it. So we started having writing codes or several languages printed on it. So the surface of the pen also became a medium for propagating knowledge. So regarding the pen, that is a story. Then I wanted to. I think it was that interior designer in my mind that I wanted. I was worried about the optimization of space. That is what we do in while we design. I mean, especially in interior designing, maximum utilization of space is that what we are concerned about. So there is a tiny little space and below this pen, and so that was kind of I was not very happy with losing out that much of space, I mean wasting that much of space. So that is when I thought of adding a seed, a tiny little seed in that area, so that you have the habit of disposing of your pen. You just throw away, right, and it's everything. So when you throw this away, when it touches the ground, it can grow into a tree. That was the idea.
Ma'am, actually, that's a very innovative idea that as students we need to follow up that, and then because it is going that's what is going to be the future. We need to add that in the generation for the next generation. So, ma'am,
Yeah.
we would also want you to talk
So this,
about Amumatili, that
yeah,
initiative that you.
yeah, that is Amomatiri. So we have like kept like a pack of five, and on each we have the story also written on it, like what makes it special. So that
Okay.
is such things are very important when you pack when you present a product. So these are the Amomatiri bunches that goes into every pouch. There are 30 weeks in one bunch, one for each day, sort of, for a month.
Yeah.
That is how we decided on this 30 number count. Um, so Amumatiri was started from my grandma, who was very active, but she was, physically she was getting weak and weaker and weaker. So we had to find out a way to keep her occupied because she had all the energy in her. And seeing the kind of pride and the confidence that she was having, because we started giving it off to guests who visits us, or if we visit houses, we would ask Amuma to hand it over to them, and they started demanding for wigs every month, sort of. They said, no, we are not going to buy it from outside anymore, we will wait for your packet. So that kind of gave her a lot of confidence, dignity, and things like that. So I thought, it could be the same for anybody of her age, and that is how we tried it out in old age homes. And when we went there, though it started like just as an activity to kill the time, when we went there and once I started interacting with the inmates in the old age homes, I realized there is a need for money also for them. So this could, so I thought, why don't we design it in such a way that this could become a revenue generating activity. So that is how we decided to add, like, give 10 paise to every week that they roll, and they could easily make 100 to 200 rupees per day, because it is so such a simple activity, and this was something that they'd been doing for years, and you hardly need any tool to do that, like one pair of scissors and it's done. They just need one pair of scissors for the entire old age home. Like 10 of them would be working, and they could just share the scissors, and that is how simple it was. And the fact that it's going to be lit up in temples where they won't be even able to go and visit. This is going to lit up the idols which they had always had been praying to, so that had given them such some that kind of a uh, what do you call it? It was such a fulfilling activity for them. So when I started it, I didn't have any of these things in my mind. It was just to keep my grandma occupied. But it became a multi-dimensional uh, thing.
So it became a two-way benefit for the old people plus for people who use it. That's very nice, ma'am.
Ma'am, I've actually heard
And
that there is a CEO for this business.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I will tell her that my mom is a quality control, administration, everything. She's in charge of all that, HR and everything. Because the staff, they come home when the sugar is over, or they for their nitty-gritties, or for for their little problems, like they run out of gas or run out of something else. So mom takes care of all those things. They have it.
That's really nice. Um, Ma'am, also about Chekuti. Chekuti,
Yeah.
what inspired you to do that initiative, ma'am, to take up that initiative?
So that's the Chekuti.
Yeah,
So cute.
it's very pretty.
So cute, yeah. Like any other Malayali was during those days. we were also very, involved in the rescue and relief operations. Myself and a friend of mine, Gopinath, he was in the responsible tourism field, and um, he was like, neck deep in the relief activities. And one day, once the water receded, he was actually visiting those places which were totally flooded just to check the situation of the people and, the premises and everything. So that is when he met with this secretary in the of the Weaver Society. There were a couple of campaigns that had started already to save the clothes that was piled up in these societies. Many of them could actually save a lot of the clothes because they were stocked up in the top floor. So the campaign was about selling off all these good quality, fine stock that was not soiled or anything, and it just got sold like in no time. But that is when the secretary told Gopi that, we are not worried about the good stuff, but there is a huge, a big pile of clothing. I mean, big pile of this fabric that is lying on the backside of the society, which would worth around 21 lakhs of rupees. And it is so dirty, so filthy that, the only option they have is to burn the clothes. Because the that is when Gopi called me and said that, Lakshmi, this is a problem that they're facing. So I asked him to collect a few saris, and I said, no, pay them fully and buy 5 saris for me. Let me see what I can do with it. So he brought that, and I tried to wash it and chlorinate it, and I could see that it was totally torn and shabby everywhere. But being a fashion designer, I really kind of know the technical details of this, the kind of effort that goes into weaving the fabric, and how the handloom industry is already a dwindling industry, and after this they'll be like, gone forever if we don't save this industry now. So that was a very kind of, I felt that it's a moral imperative from my side to, revive this handloom some way or the other, because I cannot even call myself a designer if I don't do anything with this cloth now. So in like I had such a, harsh deadline of 3 to 4 hours to come up with an idea. And so somehow I think, when I saw the cloth, I could just see the reflection of any Malayali in that cloth. Like, it was totally shabby. We could see the scars. What is that? The stains
Stains.
everywhere where I travel, and every heart had a scar. So it was just the same thing that I saw in every cloth. I thought, okay, then why don't we make it a small version of a Malayali itself? That is how I came up with this doll idea. So when I took a sari, I designed the cloth in, the dimensions in such a way that we could get 350 dolls out of one sari. Sari was being sold at a cost of 1,200 rupees. A fresh, brand new sari was sold at 1,200 to 1,500 rupees. But when we converted that soiled sari into a chekuti of 350 numbers, priced at 25, it became 9,000 rupees from one sari.
Wow.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, so from 200 saris, 18 lakhs rupees were generated. So like in the fourth month, we actually gave them 34 lakhs of rupees just by selling a portion of their clothes. Yeah, we have around 50,000 plus volunteers all over the world. In 9 countries, they have done these Chekuti workshops. They take this material from us. It will be Chekuti only if you use this material from Chenamangalam. That was our only condition. And it has to be an exact 6-inch dia, and the head has to be of this size. The thread on the head has to be 12 inches total, and the bow on the neck has to be 6 inch. It was
So it's all
so
prescribed.
yeah, it has to be standardized, because I say even if I see a shadow or a silhouette of a chekuti, I should be able to recognize that. Now, that was how particular we are about standardizing the whole thing, because somebody was adding legs to it, somebody was putting a hand to it. I said, none of this would be chekuti. Chekuti can just be this 3 elements, like, the body, the tie, the band on the neck, and the string on the head. So this chekuti should be comprised of only these 3 factors. It was very particular that people of all skill sets should be able to make this. So that is how we got, like lakhs of Chekutis made by 50,000 volunteers and in 9 countries. And finally, it ended up in UN. For the reconstruction conference, World Bank had been distributing this Chekuti to the delegates there as a story of a region which researched, after such a big calamity.
Yes,
So this has become the mascot of hope and resilience and things like that. So, and I highlighted the fact that Chekuti has scars, Chekuti has stains, but Chekuti is each of us who survived the flood. So then people started looking for Chekuti, the shabby ones, because they knew that that would be the most authentic one.
yes.
So, because we didn't hide anything, we didn't lie. We were very frank and we actually highlighted the flaws of it.
Ma'am, also about your company, the Pure Living company. So does that
Yeah,
company include all of the inventions you've done, or is it only
yeah.
about
Is it
this?
something in particular?
Whatever I do, it falls under Pure Living. It's a proprietary firm. It's a for-profit company. But the model in which we operate is that it functions. It comes under the social enterprise model.
We just saw in a video saying that your profession, the fashion designing is your profession, and then your entrepreneurship is your passion, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was really good.
Yeah. So, and I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I never thought that I'll end up becoming, I'll be an entrepreneur because I was always focusing on the design field. So I was thinking that I'll be like a fashion designer or interior designer, like a mainstream designer. But it was actually when I started addressing certain issues, social issues, that was really irking me, that I thought, it's my civic responsibility to find a solution for certain things, because I'm educated and physically I'm fit by God's grace, and I am kind of a well-to-do family, so I don't have to worry about what I would eat tomorrow, and there is a roof on my top. So that itself makes me into the takes me to the top 1% of the population. So I thought, that comes with a huge responsibility, and I have to start thinking of giving back to the society. So, like I'd been saying, somebody, I realized I become an entrepreneur only when the media started featuring me in the entrepreneurial sections. That's when I, oh, okay, so I've become an entrepreneur now. I never realized I was just being a simple, I'm a regular citizen who was trying to address a few social issues. And many of the projects, money started following me. I was never after the money, but money was actually after me, sort of. So, okay, I was okay with it. I didn't have any problem.
So any message to our students, ma'am? The usage of pen.
You guys have a lot of responsibility. There is no time for just idle around and take selfies and be in Insta. If you're using a smartphone, you have to be really, really. That comes with a huge responsibility. That if you're owning a smartphone, because you just on a click of a button, you have the information of the entire world in your palm, right?
Yes, ma'am.
just keep your eyes open, be observant, and remember the fact that you are, I mean, the fact that you're educated, that alone comes with a huge responsibility, because just if you look in India, it's alone, you can see how many of them are deprived of education, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
most fortunate that you could pass, I mean, that to study in a reputed college like Christ. It's not a simple, it's like a dream for so many millions of youngsters. So
Yes,
we are going to be the losers if you don't behave, and if you don't, realize this thing that, we are totally useless in the eyes of nature. The most dispensable part,
yes,
and
ma'am.
we feel that we are most indispensable.
Yes, ma'am.
Such,
True, ma'am.
We'll surely stand up to what you've said, ma'am. And we actually want to stand up to what you've said. Yes, ma'am.
these are the simple things that would really make a person more great and what's that, responsible, especially in the post-COVID era,
Yes, ma'am.
because we cannot afford to exploit any more of the natural resources.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay.
So
Thank you so much, ma'am, for all the
Thank you
information.
so much. We are really inspired by you, and we'll surely tell our
thank you.
friends about this.
To hear that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good day
Thank you, ma'am.
and stay safe.
Thank you so much,
Stay
ma'am.
safe, ma'am.